This is Rock Bottom with Ryan. No sugarcoating, no filters. The pain, the chaos, the truth. No bullshit. Just recovery.
In this episode, I sit down with Emily to hear her powerful story of recovery. She opens up about her struggles with alcoholism that started from a young age, the deep sense of not belonging, and how things eventually spiraled into health scares and legal trouble. After multiple attempts at rehab, she finally got sober at age 32, and today she's thriving as the COO of Sober Water and chasing her entrepreneurial dreams. We talk about what sobriety looks like for her now, how she manages it with therapy and selective AA attendance, and the importance of honesty, boundaries, and building real, authentic relationships in recovery. This one's honest, layered, and a great reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all to healing. Let's get into it.
My name's Emily Roper. I'm an alcoholic in recovery. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I live here in Austin, Texas now. It's the last place I was sent to treatment, so I've been here for almost 3 years, and I love it. The recovery community here is amazing. I don't know if I could see myself living anywhere else, to be honest.
I think I drove through there on a road trip back in June. Drove through St. Louis.
When people say they've been to St. Louis, they say they've driven through it, and I'm like, fair enough.
Yeah, I saw I think it was the Arches. Is that the big deal over there?
Yeah,
we
the arch.
stayed at a
Oh, yeah.
hotel with a view of that, but I'm like, it's just an arch. I don't really need to walk up to it.
Going up in it is a little frightening. So you didn't miss out on anything with that.
Yeah, I figured. I'm not really big on sightseeing. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I saw it. What do I do? Stare at it for an hour?
Yeah. Oh, it's funny.
So do you mind going into kind of a little background of how things started with you, whether it become alcohol or drug use, and kind of how it slowly progressed into what you consider a problem?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So given some background, my mother's mother, so my maternal grandmother, is an addict and an alcoholic and also bipolar. I was lucky enough to get the alcoholic gene from her. So I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Parents divorced around 10 months old. A lot of moving parts in my childhood. My mom's been remarried for, I'd say, almost 26 years, which is crazy. My dad's on his third marriage. He married a wonderful woman. But growing up, I was kind of, going back and forth between my mom and my dad's house. I mostly lived at my mom's. But as a young woman, not really having that father figure in your life, I did have a father figure, but he was more like reprimanding me, which I needed plenty of. But I'd go to my dad's house and he had a new wife and a new son, and there'd be pictures all around his house that I wasn't in. And then I go to my mom's house and everyone there had a different last name. Being a child who had ADHD, being told that I have a chemical imbalance from age 6, having that mindset as a kid, you kind of think everything about you is wrong. And I think that's where my alcoholism stemmed from, never belonging. They say alcoholics say, there's always something that was missing. Everyone else seemed like they knew what they were doing, and I really didn't. So my alcoholism didn't really affect me until after I graduated from college. I went to University of Missouri, Mizzou, got a biology degree, and my mom and stepdad are both in the medical care field. And I think at one point my mom told me, hey, you're not smart enough to become like a physician or a physician assistant. And that really, really hurt a lot because now I'm questioning my authenticity and my brain's low self-esteem for sure. I joined a sorority. I graduated on time. And after I graduated, I moved back in with my parents. And
So So,
When
if you
you're,
don't mind me asking,
yeah,
was most of the drinking in college more social drinking but under control? Since you were still able to focus on school and get your degree, you
yeah,
moderated it pretty well?
yes, I
Uh,
did. Somehow still graduated in 4 years. I didn't like achieve honors or anything like that. I just kind of graduated from a state school and moved on with my life. But your friends are in like a 5 mile radius of you, and you go home to your parents' house. I'm living in their basement. It's a mother-in-law suite, so it's not that bad. But at 22 years old, I'm used to going out 5 days a week or, something similar to that. But now I'm working at a 9 to 5. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm working at a telemedicine hospital, and this is where everything kind of takes off. I start bringing home a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc in my backpack, going right to my parents' basement and kind of reminiscing on what my life did look like, and not having a clue what I want to go doing forward. Um, Still super insecure, don't really understand life yet at all. I was very sheltered. But the drinking, yeah, one bottle of wine after work, I would hide said bottle somewhere in my parents' basement, almost as if like I was asking to get caught. Um, I was, thinking that one bottle of wine a night wasn't a big deal. As my adulthood progressed, I was in medical device sales, and it was definitely a big boys club. And I was in a team of 12, and I was the only female on that team. And I had a lot of like, I wasn't taken seriously, I guess. We're all between the ages of 23 to 28 working for Stryker. And it's my life. My ego is through the roof. I'm like, I work for a Fortune 200 company. No one can mess with me. And I'm bartending on the weekends or not while I'm on call. The money obsession with the alcoholism fueled Emily, and that was bad. um,
how much do you think
as
the
I
job played a role in that? Just there's a lot of partying involved in that career, like as far as the people you're with being the same age and working with and all.
For sure. And with my bartending, the guys I would work with would come see me bartend downtown St. Louis. But I was on call sometimes for a week straight. I was always anxious. We had an on-call phone that would ring so loud, and we'd have to be at the hospital in the operating room in under 30 minutes. So around this time, like I'm also engaged. Fast forward a little bit, I'm 25, 26, and engaged to someone that I shouldn't have been engaged to. He's a great guy. I would never talk bad about him, but he didn't make me laugh. He, I thought that what I was doing was appropriate for 25, 26, 27 years old. You see your friends getting married, having kids, and like knowing that this person isn't meant to be your husband is terrible. So living with him, I would sneak alcohol all over the place. I would hide it in the basement. I would hide it by the garbage, like cans outside. And it got to a point where he said to me, Emily, I love you so much. Like, why can't you just stop? That broke my heart. And he saw me go to a couple rehabs. And I just, in the back of my mind, and then in rehab, I remember saying, I don't think I should be engaged to this person. Like, I can't give him what he needs, and he can't give me what I need. And I need to focus on my sobriety.
Did you
So
guys meet during a drinking period of both of your lives? Is that how you met, or is that kind of
yeah, so we met when we were sophomores in college at
okay?
Mizzou at his frat house. So instantaneously, it was all kind of like a big party, but we didn't start talking again until after we both graduated from Mizzou.
Oh, okay.
He's married now, a beautiful wife, and I wish them nothing but the best. And he helped me learn a lot. But still, with the 3 or 4 times I went to rehab with him, I couldn't do it.
This wasn't clicking. So was it more, were you going to rehab more because he kind of intervened and wanted you to, or did you just not want to on your own? And you think that's why it didn't work?
I wasn't ready.
Yeah, I
I
can say the
wasn't,
same.
yeah, I mean, in this first rehab I went to, I stayed for 2 weeks and then came back 2 weeks later. We had our phones, we had TV, we had access to the outside world. And Emily Roper did not need that. Emily Roper needed to get her ass like into shape with, this is my life and I really don't want to mess it up. And
Yeah.
that didn't happen until I was 32 years old. So going back, I moved back in with my parents, off to the races with more rehab. I meet another guy, and you just ICU stays, ambulance rides. I remember my BAC at one point was 0.54. Just given my last rites, my parents have a burial plot picked out for me. And all this time, I'm thinking, poor me, like, which is absurd to think about. How can my parents like do these things? And how can they? It's absurd. It's insanity. And it was
Yeah.
the ego. Um, And every day I try to, make amends in some form, not every day, but I try to pay it forward um, in any way that I can.
Do you mind backtracking just a little, elaborating a little more on what happened when you were read your last rites and went to the
Yeah.
hospital? What was that moment like?
Um, I was still engaged to this guy and I went back home and I started drinking more.
After you guys called off the engagement?
Yeah, I moved back in with my parents, went
Okay.
to rehab, but back then after the ICU stay, I went back to our apartment and continued drinking. He was out of town. I had these horrible nosebleeds that wouldn't stop. I was such a mess. Um, but
Were you doing any other drugs besides alcohol?
I was prescribed Adderall from age 6 to current. No, I wasn't experimenting with other drugs at the time. Weed made me feel paranoid. I didn't really
Yeah.
do much else. But I think the lowest, my rock bottom would have been in my apartment in St. Louis. I had gotten a DUI and 2 felonies. I can talk about this now because those are dismissed, and not one day goes by that I don't think about how I could have hurt somebody, how I could have, I'm just very lucky that I didn't have that happen. Um, but I was dating this guy and we had bought a Z4 together, and I just ran that Z4 into a brick pole and put it in reverse, parked. So a felony is leaving the scene of an accident, resisting arrest, and a DUI. So I wasn't able to make money, and I was living by myself in Clayton, Missouri. My rent is $17.50. I have a car payment, but since I have 2 charges and a DUI, it's very hard for me to get a job. So for me, in my drunken stupor, I was doing things to make money that I really wish that no one else has to do. But fast forward, and I'm doing these things, and my car gets repoed. The money I'm making is going to Uber Eats to have alcohol delivered to me because I can barely walk up the stairs to my car. I'm so emaciated that my hair is falling out. I have bruises all over my body. My knees have scars on them from falling. And you know what I mean. He just
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah, I could, yeah, towards the end of my most recent benders the past few years, I had to like come up with a plan to get up to go to the bathroom.
right.
And yeah, it's like I would have to drink before I did that because I'm like, okay, well, I can't put my contacts in while I'm shaking. My body's
Yeah.
weak. I can't aim to go to the toilet. It's like everything's just a struggle, and you're like, what is this? What am I doing to my body?
And you have no one to really talk to. Like, you are so isolated from the world because that's what feels safe. And I felt the best when I was sleeping. And all I did was drink round the clock just so I could sleep. I didn't know if it was 4 a.m., 4 p.m., and it didn't really matter.
That was my next
Um,
question. What was a 24-hour period during that really dark phase?
my dad called my mom. My dad lives in Lebanon, Missouri, so 3 or 4 hours away from St. Louis. He called my mom and said, "Can you please go check on Emily? I'm really worried," which is not like my dad to kind of do. But he was crying on the phone. And my mom's response was, "I can't do this again." So I think back and my first thought is, oh, she was just going to let me die. But that's not what it is. It's me continuously putting her through the ringer over and over again. And looking at it from the other side, I agree with her. It had been 6, 7 years of me just drinking, messing up, getting to accidents, hit and runs, like rehabs. So my rock bottom was my mom coming over. I have a video. She had a hard time opening the door into my apartment because there were wine bottles everywhere. And she's recording and she walks into my bathroom, like the toilet's broken because I fell into it. I'm in my bedroom, shallow breathing, like I've wet the bed. If my mom didn't go over there that day, I don't know what would have happened. So I'm thankful for my mom for that. And there's a video of me army crawling into the living room where the other bottles of wine are, and I'm just chugging this wine while she's packing my bag. And she said to me, "You're never coming back here."
Wow.
So she packed up most of my things. She told me it took her and my stepdad and countless friends, aunts and uncles to clean up my apartment for a week, including like a new painting on the walls. Like, yeah. So here we are in Austin.
How much
And
how much do you think you were consuming every day?
I would say on a regular basis, my BAC was around 0.32.
Okay.
So two
Yeah,
to three
that's
bottles a day.
yeah. When I got my
Which
DUI, it
is
was a 0.34, and so I felt like I was functioning fine that day when I got in my car, and
right.
I'm like, okay, so that must be my BAC all the time then. Like and
Right.
that's scary.
It is scary, but the body's a crazy thing. Like it now requires you to continue to drink all that alcohol. So your GABA receptors don't go crazy. And yet
Yeah.
then you have seizures and you have, yeah.
Did you have experience with seizures and DTs and all that?
Oh yeah. I've had like 3 or 4 seizures, grand mal seizures. First time I was with an ex and he was so startled that he walked into the other room and threw up because he didn't know what was going on. The other times were in treatment. I had seizures and DTs. So have you had DTs?
Oh my gosh, to the worst, to the point where not
Right.
even just shaking and uncontrollable movements, but
Mhm.
to hallucinating, seeing things crawl out of the ceiling, hearing my entire family, which wasn't even in the same house as me, talking about me for hours, like audible hallucinations, and
Yeah.
it was hell. I decided the last two times I went on a bender, I decided I just submitted myself to the hospital, and the first time around I agreed to go to AA, so I started doing that
Yeah.
and didn't go to rehab, refused. And then once I decided after 3 months of sobriety, I'm like, okay, I can do this again. I can control it, for the 400th time in my life. I think I can control it all of a sudden. And I just fell right back into it. Had a seizure in the shower, decided, all right, take me to the hospital and detox
Wow.
there, and then went to rehab and haven't touched it since. But yeah, DTs are hell. I'll let you continue.
Yeah. So I was at a friend's house and when I opened my eyes, I could see slot machines going. I could hear the beeping of anesthesia from like the operating room. I'm laying in bed. I'm looking at the ceiling and I can see things on the ceiling that are not there. I'm trying to take pictures to convince my friends that there's something on the ceiling. Um, I thought someone was breaking into their house, so I called the police. The police came. I was just strung out from drinking and detoxing, and I I should be dead. I mean, you probably should be dead too. Like, it's insane.
Oh, if you look at my Instagram and look at some of the first things I posted, it's just all me in the hospital, face unrecognizable. And I'm just like, I was told by the doctor, if you weren't drunk when you got thrown off of a balcony, two-story balcony, you would be paralyzed or dead. So alcohol saved your life in a way, but you need to stop. And I proceeded to drink for another 10 years after that. But
Wow.
it's just it's scary. Yeah, I should be dead 3 or 4 times now. So
Yeah. Yeah, you
yeah,
get it.
yeah,
How do you explain that to somebody? Because like, unless you have been there or seen someone else there, like you have no idea.
exactly. I
So,
mean, there's a lot of people who can relate, but there are people that don't understand what a disease this is and how it does take over, and we lose all powerlessness over it.
yeah.
It's scary. So what took place after, that video at your place? You went to the hospital, I assume, and then
It's a little fuzzy.
okay.
But my mom brought me back to her house. My stepdad was there. I was just a mess. I remember it was snowing outside. My mom threw me out in the snow because I was being so like, she had thrown me out there, but she had to push me outside. It was like, I can't deal with you. She put a diaper on me. She gave me a bath. And then I went to Springfield, Missouri to go to like a state-run rehab place that was terrible until there was an opening for me in at what's called BRC. They're no longer open, but they're in Elgin, Texas. So think all women. It is very like military style where you didn't have outside contact with the world and you really had what I was talking about having my shit handed to me. It was tenfold. And the ego is something I have to work on every day. But these women that are people that you get to know in treatment become very close to you. Imagine like never leaving a facility for 4 months, maybe calling your parents for 5 minutes once or twice a month. I needed that. I needed.
It's the structure and discipline and the inability to contact the outside world. Like you said earlier, Emily does not need all that freedom,
No,
Yeah.
she does not. We had this group called Circle where we would give each other accountability. And so it'd be like, Ryan, when you wear headphones that are only black, I feel anger, pain, and sadness. We had to give each other these awarenesses, look at them, not make any facial movements. We had to give each other like 5 to 15 awarenesses every day. And then it would go into a tangent of like, Emily, you're the most non-authentic person I've ever met in my life. You are faker than the trees like that are placed outside of this building. And you're like, you know what? She's right. Like, I kind of suck.
There's some interesting exercises in treatment where you don't understand it at the time. You're like, how's this beneficial? But it really improves your self-awareness.
Oh, yeah,
Gets you
definitely.
thinking.
And I wish that I could say that was the last time that I wish that time was the moment that I stayed sober. I ended up going back to treatment. I have a year sober as of last week,
Congratulations. That is
the
awesome.
29th. Yeah, thank you. So I did that 4 months of hard ass treatment. Dr. Phil sends his patients there or did send his patients there. My dad's best friend went there and he kind of got me in there, paying it forward, like in sobriety.
This is a
After
very
the
high quality treatment center, and you were there for 4 months.
4 months,
Wow, nonstop. Are there any other
uh,
examples of like things that stand out that you think back and you're like, if I didn't learn that in treatment, I don't know where I'd be?
first thought's wrong, especially someone with ADHD. My first thought that I should go do something or post something or talk to somebody, I should probably think about that decision before going through with it. Getting a tattoo, you know, anything. So first thought's wrong. I've also, what stuck with me is that just because I am an alcoholic, like some of those alcoholics are some of the brightest people in the room, the most friendly, observant, outgoing, loving people. I mean, this is our second time meeting, so I'm sure your family, your friends know that like Ryan sober is what we like and what we love,
Yeah,
right?
I feel like I get complimented for being a better person sober than I was before I even started drinking. and
Right,
and I take that as
exactly.
a compliment, but it's true. Like when you recover from addiction and you're in recovery, you're working on growth every single day. And it's
Every
like
day.
I never would have done that if I didn't go through what I went through.
Yeah, exactly. It's so
Yeah.
true. But after I got out of treatment, they say to get a get well job, right? Uh, so I go from medical device sales to working at Austin Pets Alive. It's a nonprofit animal shelter. I'm a vet tech. They just were like, you can learn on the job. But unfortunately, I did not stay sober. I got my three-legged cat from there. She is missing her front left leg, and she has seen me go through a lot of things, and I love her so much.
Oh, yeah, I love animals. Yeah, I made a
Yeah.
post the other day about my dog just sticking with me through so
Right.
much.
So last, I'd say, mm, last April, I just went and visited an ex-boyfriend in Florida, and I got back to Austin and I went on a date, and my date asked me, he's like, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" I could feel all the hairs on my arms and on my back of my neck stick up because I knew that if I did this, it was going to be a couple more months before I'd end up back in the hospital or in a psych ward or somewhere other than where I was living.
And you had the
uh,
thoughts of those consequences right off the bat.
oh, immediately. Yeah. And it didn't matter. It did not matter. I started drinking with this guy and I had 2 drinks and I went home. On my way home, I'm also the sober house manager of it's just me
Oh, you
because they
got a
were going to
full plate.
start getting girls in there and I have this freedom. I don't have any accountability. I bring home a bottle of wine. I continue like going to work. I'm selling land at this point. I'm making an absurd amount of money and I got fired.
So how long, so after those first drinks on that date, it led you on a bender that lasted a while before,
Before
uh,
crashing hard.
oh, and what happened? Did you go back to treatment?
So as I'm a sober house manager, I decide to move out because I haven't had hot water or like electric for 3 or 4 months. It's now, yeah, May-ish. I moved to, so UT's campus is in Austin. So I lived on West Campus, kind of by the university. I lived with one other person in a 2-story house. Um, and I'm slowly but surely bringing bottles of wine home. I'm I'm also on Ozempic. So think poor self-esteem, drinking on Ozempic. You're not supposed to drink on it. It causes you to like get very sick, throwing up. So this is around July. I'm in my last couple days before I have to move out of this house because the lease is up. And I have nowhere to go. I don't have the energy or the wherewithal to know what's going on, period. Like my cat is now using like the bathroom outside of her litter box. Um, I need to move out. I have all of my worldly possessions in this house with me. I called my friend Morgan and I told her I needed to go to the hospital. I had paid someone to come pack up a lot of my stuff before Morgan came over to get me to take me to the hospital. And this poor lady who came into this house, I was drinking wine in bed. I'm 112 pounds. I'm 5'8.5", and I'm Skeletor. This woman, like, eventually is starting to pray over me because I look like I'm about to die. I have knots in my hair. I like not good. But I end up at the hospital.
All doctors to the ER.
I'm figuring out where to go to treatment, how to get insurance in the hospital. So I did go to BRC last time. So BRC is part of this company called Foundation Stone, and they have a program in Pensacola and a program in Austin. So my people from BRC got me into the Pearl in Pensacola. And I was in the hospital for a week. Again, matted hair. I can't walk. A physical therapist is helping me walk up and down the hospital hallways. Disgusting. I look back at those photos of me on the plane, and I couldn't even lift my luggage to put it away.
Yeah.
So I get to Florida. Within the first couple of days, I have another seizure. This is a military style treatment center. I was there for 3 months before they kicked me out. So the Pearl where I was at was supposed to be just like BRC. And I had this entitlement of telling the staff at the Pearl what they should or shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
If they want to, who am I to say something like that? It's terrible.
That's what led to you being kicked out, was kind of just trying to be too assertive and tell them what to do.
Yeah. And so they transferred my care to Austin, a place called Amend. It's more for mental health, and I loved every second of it. I got out of there. I was in sober living for a month, and then I moved in with a friend. And since then, like, I can get into the crazy life that I have now. I mean, you can attest to like what your life looks like compared to what it did years ago, even months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's night and day, you know. That's like, the thought doesn't even cross my mind anymore, but like, even if I just look at it and just look, you know, if I were to consider having a drink, I just think, what was my life like then? What's it like now? It gets better every day. I'm like, what would be the point? You know, it's like life is so much better. Yeah.
Do you think of yourself as a late bloomer by any chance, as like, I guess, emotionally or like cognitively? Because I found with myself, it takes me a little bit longer to learn and understand things than
Yeah.
it might the average person.
I have ADHD as well, so I was
Yep.
prescribed Adderall for a long time, and I don't take it anymore.
Okay.
But you know, I am learning in sobriety that like I feel like, you know, drinking for 18 years, I'm 38, you know, so if I started really drinking when I was 20 and I'm finally sober for almost a year now, I'm like relearning things that I probably should have learned in the last 18 years as far as coping mechanisms, dealing with anger, dealing with social situations. Like, I feel like everything's new to me. It's like a 16-year-old getting their driver's license.
Right.
It's kind of like, it's exciting, but it's like, oh,
It
if I didn't,
is.
I would have learned this a lot sooner had I not had those problems. But I mean, it's better late than never. So,
Yeah. My mom called me a 32-year-old teenager, and I was like, you know
yeah.
what? It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, but it's
But
still a good feeling to have, even at our age, you know. It's
exactly.
it's great though. So yeah, I do feel, to answer your question, yeah, a late bloomer in a lot of ways. I feel like I have a lot of experience in a lot of things based on how much I went through, but I feel like dealing with them for the first time head on without numbing myself is,
Yeah.
you know, it's a big reminder that I have a lot of growing to do, but it's I'm not numbing myself anymore, and that's what matters. And you're not
Yeah.
either, so it's
No,
good.
I can't. I don't think I have another recovery in me. I think that, a relapse can happen at any point, but I don't have what it takes to go through that again because, I mean, who knows? I hope that I never have to be there, but I had a spiritual experience a couple months ago, and the thought of like alcohol, like me physically drinking it, like is sickening. I can go out to bars. I can be with friends who drink or smoke weed, but to me, I just know I can't, and that's okay.
That was my next question. How do you manage the situations? Do you try to avoid the situations or just do them sparingly where other people are drinking? And also, how do you deal with like, difficult situations, traumas and all that stuff now that you're sober?
Yeah. I go out, I go to bars, I go to clubs, I go to concerts, but that's only because I had a spiritual experience. There's alcohol in my house right now. I also share this house with one other person. Um, but I look at it and I just think like I could lose this business that I started with the University of Texas. I could lose my status as COO of Sober Water. I lose the chance of maybe like having kids, getting married one day. And do I really want to sacrifice that? Not really.
Yeah. Protect yourself at all costs.
Yeah. And during my treatment at Amend in Elgin, I did EMDR for trauma. And that was kind of crazy as someone who believes in science and believes like I need proof. And from the show me state, I need to see how this is going to help me before I dive deep into this. Have you ever done EMDR?
I have not, no.
Okay, so they're trying to like get both sides of your brain talking to each other by rapid eye movements. I only did 4 or 5 sessions. I don't think that I would do it again because I know what my trauma is and I know how I need to handle it. But for those who have gone through traumatic things, abuse, I was on a hayride accident when I was in kindergarten where a girl died. I witnessed a shooting in downtown St. Louis when I was bartending. I have seen some things that I don't wish upon anyone. And especially being in medical device sales, like seeing a 1-day-old baby die, there has to be an outlet, right?
Yeah.
For me, that's getting outside and walking. Austin is such a beautiful city that there's so many places you can walk, think, um, talk about. I wish I could say is like a huge part of my life, but it's not. I go once a month on the 29th of every month to get it's just another month under the
Get your
belt.
chip, and sometimes you do
Yeah.
like a birthday talk and everything. So.
Or yeah, just something like that.
That's good. I mean, AA is not for everybody, but I mean, it works for some people sparingly. It works for some people every day, some people not at all. And I totally respect whatever works for anybody. So
yeah. How often do you go to AA or NA or?
I'm an everyday guy. I chair meetings.
Good for you.
I love the program, and I meet a lot of people in it, and it's working for me. At first, I was really hesitant, but after I got out of treatment, I was like, I'm going to try this 90 and 90 thing. So I decided to go to a meeting or two a day just to get 90 and 90. I ended up with like 120 and 90. And then
Nice.
finally I just got in that habit where I was like, I just made it a part of my day just to go in and, be with people that are like-minded and walk out feeling better. And it's just kind of like, free therapy.
I find like being around animals, kids outside is like my free therapy. And I say the word free therapy all the time. So the fact that you said it is perfect because it's true.
Yes. There's so many things that are therapeutic. Like I learned to work on trucks recently the last couple months. I'm like, I thought it would be frustrating, but doing it sober and just keeping my mind occupied so I don't get in my own head is like, all right, I feel good doing this, even if I'm not good at it.
Can you come fix my left turn blinker, please? Because I need to get that looked at next.
I do know how to fix that. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
No, but yeah. So can you give me more examples, kind of like what your lifestyle's like now? And you mentioned Sober Water, definitely going about that, and tell me what your life's like now that you're out of recovery for the final time, and seems like you're working hard on yourself. So
absolutely. I had a crazy thought one night while I was at my house here. I'll get into Sober Water after this. I'm going to get into like what I'm building with the University of Texas.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
I had this crazy thought one night. There was an Instagram post where this woman was complaining and saying, I wish I could still go to the bars and people not ask me why I'm not drinking. Because who wants to be asked like, oh, why aren't you drinking? Because I'm an alcoholic. And now we both feel weird, right?
Yeah.
So I then was thinking about social signaling and then parlaying that into what about autism? What about people who are open to meeting new people? What about you're learning how to play golf or things like that. So I submitted this idea to UT at 10:30 at night on a Wednesday. The next morning, there was around 9 other professors included in this. So I just was like, I was meant to do this. Like I as a new entrepreneur, I would like to make this happen. So UT is creating, do you know what a capstone class is?
Capstone class? I've heard of it. Yeah.
So capstone is like what the students take. It's their last class that kind of goes over the 3 years that they've learned into a final class or presentation, and they're graded on it. So these students are creating my tech, they're creating the app, and some sort of charger for this starting in October.
Wow.
I can't go into too much detail without my lawyer getting really mad at me, but Austin is the perfect place for a social experiment. Drinking is down by 30%. And I'm so excited to meet these students. I can't wait. But that's just one piece of my life right now.
That is great.
Sober
Your
Water.
entrepreneurial side.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
So I'm the COO of Sober Water. And in what Sober Water is that we are giving most of the profits to build a no-cost or low-cost treatment facility in Colorado. We have around 40 acres right now that's ready to be built upon. And then we are also building sober living homes because people do need that accountability. With Sober Water, we're ending plastic and helping people. So our cans are aluminum, and then we have glass bottles as well. Yeah. And since joining Sober Water, we went from a $3 million company to a $12.5 million company. I'm flying out to Vegas for NFL opening weekend to meet with the Raiders, the owner of the Raiders. So we are going to Anheuser-Busch Distribution Center tomorrow in Houston. Life doesn't feel real. All of these avenues and saying yes to things and like praying, being outside, like my life looks completely different than it did 3 years ago. I could not be more thankful for the people I've met, not only in sobriety, but my friends who are normies, who still like to give me some shit for not drinking, but they know as much as they need to know about my recovery, because not everyone can be openly talking about my life was just bad and this is why it was bad. I want my conversations to look like my life is good and I could not be more thankful. I think that God gives these lessons to people who can handle them, and I just wish it wasn't such a long lesson, but
I agree.
I get to sit here with you, someone who's also been through the ringer, dying, like rehabs, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I did things for money I wasn't like happy about either. I sold drugs. I've gotten woke up in jail so many times, hospital so many times, made horrible decisions that I might take to the grave. It's
right.
Yeah. I mean, just what matters is we're here now. Right today, live for today. So.
Do you find that you have to filter what you say to people? Like I'm single, like dating, and I never know what is appropriate to talk about, what's not appropriate, but what like things you keep to yourself. I'm all about honesty.
Me too.
So like, I don't know. I don't want to scare anybody, but like also this is part of who I am,
Yeah, no, I think being in recovery, it just entices us to want to be honest with ourselves and honest with others. I mean, there are things that certain people, aren't meant to hear because of their own insecurities or their own values or boundaries. Maybe they can't understand it, but I believe anybody who can't handle the truth and doesn't give you the time of day because of that truth, and it's not you anymore, it's who you are now that counts. And I think that's what matters. I think anything in the past, is okay to open up about.
Yeah.
to anybody you're comfortable. But
Yeah.
obviously things do backfire sometimes, but it's like, if you can't handle that, then they're probably not meant to
Yeah,
be in your life.
exactly.
So,
You're right. And
yeah.
if like I've come to accept the fact, like, if I have kids or not, I've come to accept like maybe I will, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
Because have you ever like had to set yourself up for, maybe a feeling of disappointment ahead of the disappointment? Like, hey, you
Yes.
didn't get the job, or hey, like, I don't think that we should continue dating, or like, you know,
Yes.
do you have
Yes.
to prepare
Completely.
yourself kind of for,
Mentally prepare myself for everything. But I've also learned that sometimes go with your first,
yeah,
like you
first
said,
that's
something.
wrong.
First thought's wrong. But like I've realized that it's okay sometime to just make an impulse decision and be like, nope, not doing that. Or you know what? I'm gonna do that because I mean it. I want to get that out there, and whatever the response is, I'm prepared for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked about a lot of things, even on my show so far on earlier episodes about things I was doing when I was drinking, a lot of things that, my father hadn't heard. And he talked to him the other day and he's like, oh, I listened to that episode and now I know all about how you were sneaking this and sneaking that. And, I'm
Yeah.
ashamed of all of it. But I think what counts is that if somebody cares about you enough and they want to be a part of your life, they're not going to judge you on anything in the past. I mean, it's because I'm a better person today, and I know I look back at those things and I'm like, okay, well, that's not me anymore.
It's
Because I
not
used to lie about everything.
everything.
So the more honest I am now, the better it feels. It's hard for me to even tell a white lie these days. Like it's
I
just,
know. Right.
yeah. So I mean, different people are comfortable sharing different things. I mean, I understand there's things we just take to the grave, and I understand there's things that sometimes getting it out helps more than you'd expect. So
Agreed. Yeah,
yeah,
with the right person for
yeah.
sure.
I dated somebody who opened up about something that was pretty, ballpark, maybe something similar. It's something that, if open-minded people with a past probably understand. Somebody who grew up in, maybe like a healthier environment, didn't have the
Yeah.
issues with addiction, they're not going to always understand it. So
No, and that's okay,
yeah,
right? I'm
it's
kind of
okay.
glad that they don't.
Yeah, you don't
Just-
want somebody to understand that. I mean, I was telling that to a significant other before that I was, they didn't have a past filtered with addiction. They didn't have a dysfunctional family growing up. They didn't suffer from sexual abuse traumas like me. And I'd say you can't relate to me, so I'm gonna associate with some people that can relate. But I am so glad you didn't go through it, and I will tell you anything you need to know. But
Yeah,
but you can look for support in the right places, even if people you're close with don't understand it. So,
exactly. And not everyone is meant to, because
yeah,
I am not the center of the universe. Like,
yeah,
I'm the center of my universe some days, but to be like cohesive and loving, you kind of have to know your audience a little bit, and then maybe get your way to having a closer relationship. I'm someone who likes to go from 0 to 100
yeah,
with everything that I do. And I have to learn how to calmly slow down and, just see where life goes. But for now, I'm happy. Like, I'm so happy you asked me to be on this podcast.
you
I
as
think
well.
what you're
Thank you.
doing is amazing. More stories need to be told, because this is the reality of what addiction looks like. And people say they want to help out regardless of addiction, alcoholism. So
Yeah,
if you do want to help, understanding it is very beneficial for not only
exactly.
therapists, but friends, family,
Yeah,
three-legged cats.
really. Yeah, that's what I want this show to be about. There are a lot of recovery shows out there, but I do want this one to go into. I want it to be about talking about that dark point where you had to turn your life around. You knew it was time. And then the comeback story, which you have a perfect example of a comeback story. I mean, you're thriving, you're doing multiple things at once, you're living a healthy lifestyle. Like that's the stuff I want to hear, like that people can come back from the darkest places. And I hope this show spreads awareness and makes people feel not alone and helps them understand, there's other
Yes.
people out there going through it and you're not alone.
Yes. And when they say the promises, like you see the promises come true, I thought that was a load of BS. I was like, you don't know, because you have so much money. I'm here. I don't have a vape in rehab.
Yeah.
But now it's I have a car. I have a Jeep Wrangler. I live
Hey,
in
I have a Jeep Wrangler. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I get to live in a house. I get to have my cat. I have 2 jobs. Basically, I'm teaching students at UT. Like, life doesn't end because you chose to stop the addiction. Like, life begins when you choose yourself and knowing that you're so much better than the substances you put in your body. And I will always, if anyone ever reaches out, like, I have the hand of AA to guide me. And I've helped people get into treatment centers or to bring them to an AA meeting. It big or small, it doesn't matter as long as, I'm not thinking about Emily all the time.
Oh, that was my next, some of my final questions were, what advice would you give to somebody who's considering going into recovery or who's struggling right now? Some of my listeners are still in the midst of addiction.
Yeah,
What would you
for
say to them?
sure. If you notice that your day-to-day is being disrupted by a substance, AKA you're not waking up in time, you're missing like appointments, or you don't have healthy food in the fridge, and you would rather numb out than think about what you need to accomplish. That coupled with isolation, not really wanting to be around people, and you notice like that you're sneaking things here and there, let's get you help before things really escalate. Because if I could help one person in their life not get to the point where like you and I went to, then that's a win for me. And there are people that want to help, and I'm inventing a device for that reason. Like, let's get people the help that they need, because I was fortunate enough to do that. You were fortunate enough, and life's pretty cool. So let's enjoy it, like, clearly.
Yeah, no, I'm loving doing this podcast. It's been going for about 6 weeks now, and it has gotten me in touch with so many great
Right.
sober people. And my life it was already, exciting, but like once I started this and connected with other people, I'm like, wow, there are so many great people out there that have a story. And
Yeah.
I'm getting so much more out of it than I would have ever expected, just talking to you
Amazing.
today and hearing your story, and just, I don't know, it's like a drug in itself,
Right. Agreed. And like really quickly, I'll say like I work for Sober Water, but for like 4 hours a day, and the rest of my day is meeting with other founders, other people who are started their own business. And I've met the coolest people, and I wouldn't have done that if I was drinking. And putting boundaries up for people who don't also think that your relationship is authentic, like, is okay too.
Boundaries, that's great advice. Boundaries are so important during addiction and after,
Mhm.
most importantly after, when you're trying to stay on the straight and narrow. Isn't it great that, these things are just kind of taken off for you? Like, you think of where your life was 14 months ago. I was in a
Right.
bathroom having a seizure after taking a shower. And, like, a little over a year later, I am, I'm right here just imagining things, and they're starting to come true. And I think that's true for you too. It's like, I would have never dreamt life could be great, especially sober. And in reality, it was here the whole time, but
Right. It's so true.
but hey, better late than never.
Better late than never. And I'm, happy to be here.
So great to meet you. Honestly, your
Yeah,
story is
you
really
too.
inspiring, and all the work you're doing now, with the college in Austin and all that, and Sober
Sober
Water.
Water,
I mean, it's all
yeah.
great stuff. So I'm really happy for you.
I really appreciate it.
I hope you have
Yeah.
a great rest of the day. Is there a quote that stands out that like you live by?
It's like anything is possible. And I try to translate that into anything is possible as long as I'm sober. Because it literally is.
Rock Bottom with Ryan. No bullshit, just recovery.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right.
I'll give you the Jeep load.
Bye.
See you later.